Today, we become legends.
Alright boys, 10.5 bonus balance update notes just dropped. They're going to be going live May 30th, which is 4 days from when I'm going to be releasing this video. And I'm going to do my usual review of them. There seem to be some decent changes. I've had a very quick skim through. I've just looked at basically who's been changed. I've not really looked at any of the actual changes in depth. But it seems to be a lot of the top gods in the meta and some items hit as well. So we'll give it a quick look. 2 new skins. Osiris skin looks pretty cool. You can add that to your chef teams or whatever. And this cleaner skin looks sick, dude. I love this line of skins, like the cosmic ones. Maybe this will get me to play some more cleaner, dude, because I think she's really cool, but I'm not very good at her. So maybe I can get better at cleaner. Maybe I'll buy this skin. But yeah, let's get into the changes. So they've got some general notes here that we'll have a little read through before we get into the actual changes here. So Year 10's multi-season structure brings sweeping changes at more regular intervals than we've ever seen. Yeah, normally they would have like a mid-season patch and the big season patch, and those are like the main 2 big patches you'd see, whereas now we're going to have like 4 sort of main big patches throughout the season. And we're just about to reach our next season in 10.6. Yeah, Season of Despair, Season of Souls, whatever it's going to be called. I don't even think they've released the name of it yet, but we'll see pretty soon. Because so much changes on the horizon, it feels like a few things are missing from this bonus update. Okay, so if some things aren't changed that we're maybe looking for, it could just be because they're waiting for 10.6. But hopefully they'll address a lot of the major, like, big problems that are making the game so unfun and unbalanced right now, because that really does need addressing. It's going to be a little while before we get 10.6, so... 10.6 will include sweeping item changes to decrease stat values game-wide. Oh god, are they doing another 9.5? Is this just going to be every single season now? Or like every single year, I suppose, now is the correct term. We're just going to have a 9.5 where they just reduce everything game-wide, and then they buff it all back throughout the season, I guess. With heavier decreases on power, therefore buffing tanks, good to hear. There will be also many other new gameplay features and balance changes in that update. Yeah, hopefully they bring, like, some new mechanics to Conquest. You know, we lost the Trebuchets, we lost Indra's Scepter, we lost Droga, all that kind of stuff, you know. Maybe they'll bring a lot of that back. Not that same stuff, but they'll bring some, you know, new complex mechanics to Conquest to shake things up a little bit, because the map is relatively basic right now. For 10.5 bonus, we aim to nerf the top SPL meta gods in a meaningful way in order to encourage some shifts in the meta for upcoming SPL playoffs. Yeah, that makes sense, you know, the big tournament coming up in the SPL, they want a relatively balanced meta where it's not just pick these 3 gods and win kind of thing. Damage mitigation cap and stacking rules change. So they made this change in the last patch. Everyone kind of reacted pretty poorly to it, understandably. There was no real need to cap it at the current point if they weren't also going to buff the mitigation items. So we'll see if they're going to make any changes here, or if it's going to be the main 10.6 patch. We are continuing to work through this concept to make it easier to understand. It's very easy to understand already, and more favorable for tanks. Our goal here is to future-proof the stat, not outright nerf tanks, yeah, because at the current time it was just an outright nerf to tanks. They didn't make any actual changes to the mitigation items in 10.5, and so it literally just was a tank nerf for no reason. This update should be a big improvement. So, damage mitigation from items and gods will now stack normally in an additive way. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was how it was supposed to work when they launched the patch, and if it wasn't, that's just a terrible idea. Damage mitigation cap and stacking rule reminders. Damage mitigation from god-based sources have no cap, and therefore total mitigation has no cap if you're using abilities. Only damage mitigations from items are capped to 25%. This includes all effects that come from an item-based source, regardless of duration or conditional nature of the effects. So that includes passives like Spirit Rope, that kind of stuff. Any number of items working together will not provide more than 25%. The only exception is Aegis, which I guess counts as 100% damage mitigation. That's how they do it, and its alternate forms. The following items are being affected. Elixir of Defense, 10%, Spirit Rope, 15%. This is just listing out all the items that give it, right? Effects that increase or decrease enemy gods' damage output are not capped. So yeah, there's stuff like damage reduction, for example, from Erlang Shen's 1 or Osiris's 3. They won't be capped anyway because it's god abilities, but any items that do damage reduction as well won't be affected by this. Effects that increase or decrease specific damage from specific sources, such as basic attack damage mitigation, example, Shen's 1, that also won't be capped. Increased damage taken is negative damage mitigation, that does not counteract the effect by subtraction. So 25% damage mitigation minus 10% increased damage taken goes down to 15%, and does not does counteract the effect by subtraction. So I would assume in this situation, if you had 25%, or for example, if you had 35% and someone applied minus 10% increased damage taken, or just plus 10% increased damage taken to you, I guess, you would still be at 25. You'd still be at the cap. I assume that's how that would work. So they're basically just clarifying how things work. It doesn't seem like they've changed anything about the cap. Personally, I'd like to see the cap increase, but depending on how strong they make some of the mitigation items, I might kind of be okay with the cap being out where it is, but I'd like to see 30%, maybe even 40%. But moving into some of the actual item changes here instead of just system changes. Lotus Sickle. This change serves as a functional nerf to all healer mage supports who are performing really well in the SPL at the moment. Yeah, in all ranks, really. Some of the higher performing gods in this category are still receiving direct nerfs. Okay, so they've decreased the protections gained from the item's passive from 15 to 10. So just a little decent Lotus Sickle nerf there to, you know, hit down Yamoja, hit down Horus, all those kind of picks that are just, like, dominating the meta right now. Obviously, healers like Hel and Aphrodite. Death's Toll, they've increased the healing on the passive from 0.2 to 0.3% max health. We haven't seen Death's Toll in the meta for a good while now. People have been going Leather Cowl for quite a while. And Leather Cowl has also received a 3 physical power nerf. So, yeah, maybe Death's Toll becomes a little bit more competitive now. The thing is, Death's Temper's not that great for ADCs. Sorry, not Death's Temper. Death's Embrace is not that good for ADCs. And Death's Temper is really not that great anymore because everyone's going Kins. The whole reason you were going Death's Temper in the first place, potentially, is for crit builds. So maybe in crit builds, you like Death's Temper a little bit more now, but I feel like Leather Cowl's still going to be the go-to for hunters in Kin-size builds. It's simply better. But that's it for item nerfs. Just a little bit of a shift around of the ADC meta. They're not changing anything else with items. It's just specific god nerfs, mainly looking at the SPL Masters line, I guess. So Cernados been on top of the meta for a long time, the whole season basically, and I believe the end of Season 9 Cernados was also really strong. They've decreased the heavy glaive cleave damage from 30% to 25%, so it should hit his wave clear and cam clear a little bit. And decreased the polymorph duration on his ult from 2 to 1.5 seconds. That's pretty big. This polymorph was like a big reason Cernados is like so strong in team fights, and because Cern has such good lane pressure, he was just really good all round at all stages of the game. I think he'll still be strong in late game team fights, but taking this down by 0.5 seconds will definitely hurt his team fight potential quite a bit. Guan Yu, Talu Assault is seeing a decrease in the max stacks. I believe this was 3 originally, and they buffed it to 4, and now it's back down to 3. So only 3 stacks now, and also decrease the boosted max stacks as well. So basically, it's going to steal less protections and give Guan less protections as well. So should hurt his lane pressure a little bit in terms of his kill potential and stuff like that, and also just his general team fight. He won't be stealing quite as many protections from you. Hel nerfs makes complete sense. Hel... Since the Afro nerfs, we've been seeing Hel dominate more than Afro, to be honest, so definitely good to see some Hel nerfs here, and Afro's already been taken down quite a lot. So they've decreased the protection reduction debuff on Hinder from 5 to 25 plus 10% to 5 to 15 plus 5%, so that is very substantial. That's a big nerf. This ability wasn't the one I would think to hit with Hel, but I suppose they already hit a lot of her healing in the main 10.5 update, so they're just touching her down a little bit on some of her other aspects to make sure she's not completely dominant. I feel like she'll still be very strong. It's a favorite of the SPL. Probably going to see her a lot in mid and support at the Masters LAN anyway, but they're just hitting her down a little bit so she's not completely dominating the meta. Hercules gets another nerf. They've decreased the damage returned as healing from 20 up to 52 to 20 up to 44. Remember when this was 135%? That was fun times, dude. Now it is 44%. It's like basically a third as strong as it was at like its peak when it was restoring 135%. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. This is the main reason Herc can just like dive the backline for free basically, and you know, any of that damage he takes, he just gets a lot of it back. So makes sense to nerf that down. They've already taken down the cooldown on his 1 and 2. They've like half reverted that change. So I think this will definitely hurt Hercules a lot. It'll probably still be pretty good, but yeah, definitely will hurt his team fight a lot. His laning phase, this won't matter very much, but his team fight will be hurt by this. Martikaras nerfs, definitely good to see this. Martikaras still dominating the meta. You build an ability base, you one-shot everyone, so they've increased the cooldown on Poison Barb from 12 down to 10 to 13 down to 11, so just 1 second at all ranks on that. Gonna hurt his poking and lane clear a little bit. And Death from Above, they've decreased the physical power scaling per hit from 20% to 18%, so of course that is over like potentially 12 hits, so that's actually a decent decrease. That's up to 24% scaling decrease on the ability overall. I still think this ability hits too hard, to be honest, even after they've nerfed the protection shred and nerfed the scaling now as well. I think this ability still hits way too hard for how easy it is to confirm the damage and how long he can just stay up in the air, like completely immune to everything in the team fight. Super strong ability in general, so I feel like this could maybe even go down like 15 and I'd be pretty happy with it. I mean, even at 15%, 15 times 12 is what, like 180% scaling or something like that, so that's absolutely more than enough scaling. I feel like this could go down to 15% and I would still be happy. Knox, of course, seeing an extremely high pick ban rate in the SPL, less popular in like ranked games and stuff like that, but very popular in the SPL in the support role. They've decreased the damage dealt debuff on Night Terror from 40% to 30%. This was a really strong, like, underrated aspect of the ability. It's part of the reason why she's good in support. You know, it's not just that 2-1 combo and the fact that she can build Lonos. It's this as well. Reducing damage dealt by 40% is just huge, and so they've nerfed that down to 30%. Probably we'll see a little bit less in the SPL, but she'll probably still be a favourite of a lot of the SPL supports for the Master Slam. And Serqet. Yeah, Serqet dominating everywhere right now. Since she got that passive crit on her ultimate for free, just been absolutely dominant, and so good to see some nerfs here. So we'll read what they've said about Serqet here. The passive crit chance was certainly an impactful buff, you don't say, and it led to a lot of community discussion. Serqet seems to clearly perform at her best when she has some crit, so getting some for free helps her out regardless of her build. Yeah, I mean, you weren't really building crit on Serqet before this change, to be honest. The only reason you build crit on her now is because you may as well build Deathbringer when you already have 30% free crit, you know, just up your crits even more and have up to like 60% crit chance in one item, basically. Serqet has been building Bruiser again. Yeah, we've seen a lot of Stone of Binding. We've seen Final K like do a full-on Bruiser Serqet build and absolutely dominate with it, which we are excited to see. Interesting that they say they're excited to see that, considering how disgusted they've been with Serqet tank in the past. But we want to be careful of her overtaking the entire league. These nerfs are not intended to restrict her flexibility, but her overall extremely high pick ban rate in the SPL. She's getting nerfs across multiple aspects of her kit to bring down her Bruiser and Burst at similar levels, with an extra focus on making sure she doesn't get free crits in the early game, so I assume they're going to be nerfing the crit down to 0% at rank 1. That absolutely makes sense. That's how every single other crit ability in the game works, I believe. Maybe Naja 2 is an exception. But like, for example, Jing 2 doesn't give crit on rank 1. You always have to rank it up, and that's usually how it works. So I don't know why it wasn't that way in the first place. Although we have tried to remove low percent and ability-based crit chance in the past, this situation is quite different. The new proposal gates this behind at least level 9, and crit has a fundamental change to how much damage it deals and how often crits trigger at low percent. Yeah, I mean, it is still a little hypocritical how they've kind of gone back on what they were saying. But now that they've changed this, you know, it does only come online at level 9. That's not too bad. So Deathbane, they've decreased the protection debuff from 10% to 5%. I think this is just on the poison. This doesn't trigger multiple times, right? Or does it? I'm not really sure. But they've nerfed that down basically half, so that's going to be pretty impactful. They've decreased the madness duration on Cobra's Kiss from 1.4 seconds to 1.2 seconds. So a little bit less time to confirm that Deathbane if you get a double madness, but you're probably still going to get it completely. But, you know, this is DRable, so, you know, it's going to be potentially... You might not get all of Deathbane if this DR's like enough, if you're like a max DR stacks or something, so it could be impactful there, and also just less duration in general, good to see. And yeah, here we go, they've decreased the passive crit chance from ranking the ability from 10 to 30 up to 0 to 20, so that's a really, really big nerf, you know, no free crit chance at level 1, just random like 5 and 10%, you know, you're gonna have to get it to a relatively high rank, and also buy like at least one crit item to get semi-consistent crits. With Deathbringer, you're now looking at just straight 50% crit chance, which I think is reasonable. When you've got this at rank 5 and you're level 20. Maybe you go into like a little bit more crit on Serqet now. You know, Rage DB is 75% on its own, so you'd be at 95% with Rage DB. That's effectively 100% at that point. So maybe you go Rage on Serqet now, I'm not sure. Or maybe you just continue going Deathbringer and it's just worse than before. But good Serqet nerfs overall. I'm definitely glad to see this. The ult change is great. This is whatever, and this is pretty good as well. Just decreasing her burst damage substantially. I would have liked to see base damage or scaling nerf on Deathbane, to be honest. I think it hits way too hard. I've got a video coming out probably a bit later. I'm going down to London this weekend for like 4 or 5 days, so I've pre-recorded 3 gameplay videos for you guys that are going to be going up throughout my stay down there. And in one of them, Serqet just literally one-shots me. She 2-1 and I die. And so I would have liked to have seen a nerf to the damage of this, because she is now building crits, so this is effectively dealing... Maybe not double damage because you don't have 100% crit, but it's dealing significantly more damage than it used to before, and so I would have liked to see a base or scaling nerf on Deathbane as well. It hits way too hard. I think it hit me for like 1.5k or something in a game. It's just insane. But we've also seen some more Vamana nerfs. This is good. You know, this little guy is a giant in the SPL. Yeah, he's a giant everywhere, dude. He's dominating everywhere. They nerfed him last patch, but clearly that wasn't enough. He's still doing really well. They're hitting him with 3 different stat-based nerfs that will impact him across all parts of his gameplay. Vamana was struggling before 10.3, so the buffs were hefty, and it's now clear that the nerfs need to be hefty too. Yeah, absolutely. If these aren't enough, we will prepare to nerf again in 10.6, but we also want to be careful about removing this premier aggressive solo laner from the meta that has been hostile to warriors. Listen, Hi-Rez. I want warriors to be viable. I don't want 4 specific broken warriors to be viable. If anything, that hurts the case, because people say, oh, warriors are fine. Look at Vamana and Hercules and Horus. They're dominating people. It's like, no, I don't want to play just 4 picks. I want warriors and tanks to just be viable in solo lane. I want to be able to play a variety of picks. If you take Vamana completely out of the meta, I'm happy with that, dude. I'm sure Vamana mains are going to rage at me in the comments for that, but I would much rather see these top solo laners like Herc, Vamana, Horus, Guan just gone from the meta at this point. I would be happy to just see them over nerfed, if anything. And I'm a Hercules main, dude. And I enjoy Guan. For mana is kind of cool too. But I would just like to see them gone from the meta so some other picks can rise up and actually like a more variety of warriors instead of just these 4, and it causes problems where people are like, look at the mana, warriors must be OP, right? It's like, no, there's just like 3 OP warriors, that's it. The rest of them are all garbage and never see play. But they did make some buffs to other ones like Osiris in the previous patch, so maybe this will help. They've decreased the amount of physical power gained from protections from his passive from 25 to 20% and decreased the attack speed from 15% to 10%. So yeah, going to be getting a little bit less free stats, and then they've nerfed the power substantially on the ult again, so it now goes 35 to 75. This is a more reasonable place for it. 100 power was far too much. To be honest, I think this could have gone further. Maybe they will go further in 10.6. They do say they're ready to nerf him again if this doesn't completely take him out. Maybe not completely take him out of the meta, but take him down substantially. I think this could be 60 or even 50. It's just far too much power, and the whole reason these top solo laners are strong is because they abuse like bruiser power. That's the whole reason they're strong. For the most part, like, you know, Hercules, Horus, Guan, to a certain extent, they build regrowth, which gives them power. Hercules gets free power from his passive. Amanda gets free power from his ult and his passive. That's the reason these gods are strong, because they deleted power off of all the bruiser items. So the only way you can threaten backliners is through these specific, like, few warriors that can abuse the only hybrid items or abilities that give you power that are left in the game. So they've essentially just created a problem. And I guess they're trying to fix it here with nerfing down the power, but I think this could have gone lower. But yeah, overall, pretty good patch. I think they hit a lot of the gods that absolutely needed to be hit. I think some could have been hit harder, to be completely honest, but overall, pretty happy with this patch. I think it'll make for a very interesting Masters LAN. I'm going to be watching that very closely. I'm very interested in the SPL right now. It's been a while since I've been this interested in the SPL. I think it's a super cool season. Warriors are just crazy. I love watching Ravens play. Kings, I'm interested to see how Kings like turn up to this LAN and see if they can like perform much better than they have in the regular season. Leviathans, always going to be a fan of Leviathans. I love everyone on that team, dude. So yeah, very interested in how this is going to perform for the SPL. But yeah, some good nerfs overall. I like this patch. I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Buying this cleaner skin on drop, I think. And I will catch you guys in another one later on. Let me know what your thoughts are on this down below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.